Hey y'all, so I'm back again with another video. It's a Roses Randoms, and we are talking about episode 4 of Cassandra. And so jumping right into it, we go a little bit backwards in time to before the family moved from or to Hamburg from Hamburg. I can't remember at this point, but before the family moved after the passing of Sam's sister. And we see that Sam's sister Kathleen was living with the family in their apartment because she needed help. And pretty much this scene shows that Judah wanted to go do arts and crafts with Kathleen upstairs. And so she does go and do this. And at some point, Kathleen has like a psychotic break because Judo paints or colors the sun red, and she gets really upset with her out of nowhere. So we know that Kathleen obviously has some mental health issues, although it's not ever really clear what it is. And so Kathleen then takes a scissors and starts snapping it at Judo, and then she accidentally cuts Judo, and Judo starts bleeding. And so later on that night, David and Sam are speaking in bed. Unbeknownst to them, Kathleen is listening on the opposite side of the door, and she overhears David speaking about how they should send Kathleen to a rehabilitation center or a mental health hospital, somewhere that will help them. And he's like, if she cares about the family and loves the family, she won't resist doing this, which I thought was kind of strange to say because clearly she has mental health issues. So it's not like it's going to be easy for her to just be like, yes, I'm just going to go because I care about the family. Like, she's living there because she needs help in the first place. You know what I mean? So obviously her going to a center or somewhere else away from her family is clearly something that she probably does not want to do, and something that Sam probably doesn't want her to do either. And this is another reason, although David makes sense here in sending her away because of what she did to Judo, it's also just the way he words things that's just like, dude, like, I don't know, it seems a little bit insensitive and a bit manipulative in a way. And so we come to the present, and all the parents and Judo's parents are in a meeting because if you remember, the last episode ended with Judo firing a gun, and they're all thinking about how Judo should be suspended or expelled from the school. However, Sam speaks up and eventually convinces them to let her stay because she's like, listen, Judo's been through a lot. You know, we moved because she experienced a death. My sister died, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and so this allows the parents to be like, okay, we understand. However, there is one parent who I forget what her name is, but she's the mother of the most popular girl in school. And she kind of still seems like not for it, pretty much. Which I understand, like, she shot a gun, but also she's a child and she more than likely just got this gun from the parents. At least as a parent, that's what I would think. And I wouldn't really blame the child in this scenario. I wouldn't be like, oh, she's dangerous. You know what I mean? So back at the house, Judo is upset, of course, with Cassandra for telling her to go and get the gun. And Cassandra, with her manipulative self, is like, well, I didn't know you would use it. I didn't think you were going to use it just, you know, for a prop or whatever. And I'm like, oh, you know what you was doing. You was trying to, like, I don't know how, like, I really don't get this part because if somebody else watched this show and understands why Cassandra did this, please tell me, because I don't really understand this part. Like, what benefit did she think was going to come out of this, right? Like, you're harming Judo, one of the children who you want to be your own. And not only that, it's like, it's not just Sam who's suffering from this, it's also David. And we know you want David. So I don't really know what she thought she was going to get out of this. But anyways, so David is in the kitchen cooking, and he's annoyed with Cassandra. Cassandra's like, oh, you need help? And David's like, yeah, no, I don't need help. And, you know, you would think that this is where David starts to see maybe Cassandra's a little bit crazy, but he doesn't. He's just like, yeah, I don't need help. And, he asked her, did you know or did you see that Judo was like getting a gun from under the bed? And Cassandra's like, no, I just thought she was playing. I saw she was grabbing something, but I couldn't see what it was. And it's like, you're all seeing. How did you not see? Okay, so at some point, Sam then goes to Judo and asks her, are you sure Cassandra did not tell you to grab a gun from under the bed? And though Judo knows that she did, for some reason, Judo is afraid of Cassandra or doesn't want to lie about Cassandra. Doesn't want to tell the truth about what Cassandra did. And she keeps lying to her mom. And so Sam is like, gets really like frustrated and upset and kind of starts shaking her. And obviously, Cassandra can see this. So I'm like, okay, nothing good is going to come out of this. And she's like, tell me the truth. It's okay. Tell me the truth. And then now over the monitor, Cassandra alerts David and tells David, oh, I think Sam is hurting Judo. And so, of course, David runs to the room, grabs Judo. Finn comes running, and yeah. And so when they're all in the room, Cass is like, oh, I think I'm doing more harm than good. I'm supposed to be doing more. I was built to be doing good and helping the family. And so she decides to shut herself off. And so Sam goes to the basement and he yanks out all the cords that supposedly help Cassandra to run. But obviously we know that this probably ain't gonna do nothing. So back in the 1960s, this is when Peter, their son, Horston, Cassandra's son, which was much younger, around Christmas time, Horst is talking to Cassandra about how, one of his coworkers has 5 kids, blah, blah, blah. And then Cassandra is like, I wouldn't mind having another child. And so, Horst pretty much lays with Cassandra. And obviously we know from this, more than likely, she gonna get pregnant. Back to the present, Sam is concerned that Judo is not going to have any friends because of the incident. And so she actually thinks of this idea because obviously David is a famous writer and the popular girl's mom at school owns a bookstore. And so what happens is David pretty much goes to this bookstore. The woman is unaware that he's a famous author. He's just like looking around and she's like, oh, we're about to close. We don't really have much. It's mostly for kids. And so like he sees one of his books and he's like, oh, wow, I'm honored or something like that. And she's like, what? You're this author? And all of a sudden starts to be super nice. And then in order to like reel her in, he's like, if you let your daughter hang out with my daughter, I'll do a book signing at your bookstore. And then of course she's like, yes, that's definitely can happen. And I'm like, I'm not trying to get any parent to get their child to be friends with my child by like, manipulating them or like doing something in exchange. Like I'm so sorry. Like this might sound bad, but I much rather have my child have no friends and then a fake friend that you just like convince their mom to be friends with me. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'd be pissed off if I was a kid and I found that out. So we go back to the 1960s and of course Cass is pregnant. Ta-da! And so Horace thinks it's a boy, and Cassandra's like, what makes you so sure? And then he's like, well, I have a way that I can find that out. And so he takes her to his lab, and pretty much it's like this makeshift ultrasound thing. It supposedly came out before the ultrasound. It's something he was experimenting with. And it's supposed to, of course, like an ultrasound, show you if the child is a boy or a girl. So he pretty much uses Cassandra as his guinea pig to test this thing out, this machine out. And part of me almost feels as though he wanted to get Cassandra pregnant for this purpose and this purpose alone. Like, it doesn't show too much about Horst's personality aside from him being a terrible father and a cheater. Aside from that, it does seem like he does love Cassandra. Like, I know he's cheating on her, but it does seem like he does really, really care about Cassandra, and he does have love for her, and he doesn't abuse her or physically abuse her or anything like that. But he is cheating on her. But yeah, like still, like it does seem like he's very into his work. So I almost feel as though he used this to use Cassandra as a guinea pig to test out his work. I don't know, I could be wrong. So they put her on the table, and Horse lab assistant puts, like, you know, the cold, I forget what you call it, but you know, the cold thing that they put on your stomach if you're pregnant, like he puts that on her stomach. And then, like, he starts doing the thing where they swirl around the tummy, and Horse is looking at the computer to observe. And as he's doing this, it starts to, like, the thing starts to, like, pull on Cassandra's stomach to the point where it's like she's feeling a lot of pain, and she's yelling out, Horse, Horse, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, like, it stops, and clearly this was like super painful, and Horse is not really paying attention to that. All he's concerned about is looking at the computer and saying, oh, it's a girl. And so we see that his machine does work, but it's like at the expense of your wife, which is crazy to me. But so yeah. But I was thinking, okay, is the baby gonna die? Like, what's going on? But we do realize in all of this that when Sam had asked Cassandra in the previous episode if she was pregnant with another child, she indeed was. And it was after that that Cassandra went haywire. So I'm assuming something did happen to this child. In the present, Finn is looking for Steve, who had went missing after we saw Cassandra, like, running him after him with a knife. But turns out Steve is just fine. He just ran away from home because he came out to his father, and his father went ballistic. And yeah. And so he ran away from home, and he was missing, and like the parents don't really care. His mom is like, oh, he's better off not here. And yeah, so that's that with Steve, and nothing happened to him. So there you go. But he does tell Finn that Cassandra came after him with a knife, and Finn is like, what the heck, you know? So that's the only really important part of that scene there. So back at the house, Sam is with Judo and the friend that David convinced their mom to be there, and they're playing a game of hot and cold. And Judo is crawling on the floor, and she hears like a creak, or she hears something, and like she takes her blindfold off, and she kind of sees like the door like closing. And this is the first sign that Cassandra is still awake, because remember, Cassandra supposedly shut herself off and Sam pulled out all those wires, so Cassandra shouldn't be able to be awake. Then the friend gets bored, and she's like, I want to play hide and seek. So Sam is the one who's doing the seeking. The girls are going to hide. Judo finds a place in the bathroom to hide, and the friend is looking for somewhere to hide. And then she looks behind her, like she's passing by the kitchen, and she looks behind her, and she hears a creak. And then you look and you see the oven open slightly, and we can only assume that she's going in the oven to hide, which is like, I am unsure how old these kids are, but it's like, why are we hiding in ovens? Like, do we not know what ovens do? Like, I'm confused. Like, I don't know why we would hide in an oven. Like, I'd be scared out of my mind to hide in an oven. But then again, I'm not that age. So I don't know. Maybe I would have done that. So no judgment. I don't know. So Sam goes seeking for the girls, and then, she finds the girl like in the oven, which I don't know why she even looked in the oven. Why you would think a child would go in the oven, but it's a good thing she does. And she tries to open it, and she can't get it open, which was like, I guess, is anxiety inducing, right? But it's like, okay, as long as I don't turn on the oven, the girl should be fine, right? No, the oven turns on, and Sam cannot get the oven door open, and this girl, her skin starts to peel and starts to get whatever you get when you start to cook in an oven, and she's screaming and yelling and screaming and yelling. And this was like the worst part of the show, in terms of like, oh my god, I couldn't even look at this. Like, I did not think that they would show that, and they did. And it, oh my goodness. So yeah, that happened. And so, we skip to the scene. We see that the ambulance have been called, the police have been called, and the mom is there. Obviously she's pissed off. She's, hurt. I sent my daughter here, and now she's gone to the hospital. And we hear the police saying to Sam, you really mean to tell me that you couldn't open up the oven, but your however old daughter was able to come and open it? And we all know that, of course, Cassandra controls everything. It's a smart house. And so she probably just kept the oven locked. And then when Judo came, she was like, okay, here you go, open it, to make it seem like something's wrong with Sam. Like, Sam purposely trapped this child in the oven. So back in the 60s, Cass is just talking to Peter on the bed, and then Peter's like, what's wrong? And we realize that Cass is bleeding. And so, she runs to the bathroom. She calls her husband Horse, right? And then, he grabs her, gets her in the car, and she's like, okay, we got to go to the hospital. So he's driving her to the hospital. By the way, they leave Peter at the house. Okay. Because, of course, Horse doesn't care about Peter, obviously. Or, I don't know. He has no love for Peter. I don't know. And so he's driving, and then it's pouring rain. There's a storm. And so, there's a huge tree blocking the road. Ends up he cannot move it. So they turn back, and he puts her in the tub, runs some water, and she's screaming, screaming, screaming. He gets on the phone. He's like, my wife is bleeding to death. Help me. I don't know what to do. And so we cut back to the present. And so Sam in the present is being sent to a facility because they think she's crazy, of course. But she does give Judo a number to call first, just in case she needs to call her. She gives her number in secret. And we know, of course, this is gonna come into play in the future. So when they go home, Judo is telling David, her father, she's like, I think the oven may have been Cassandra, because when I was going in the basket in the bathroom to hide, I saw the screen light up. And then this is also when Finn tells David what Steve told him about Cassandra coming after him that night with a knife. And David, being the terrible husband, now terrible father that he is, he doesn't believe them, and he's like, you two might just be imagining things. Out of everything that is happening, you're probably just imagining things. And it's like, okay, I get you saying maybe Judo seeing the screen light up could have been her imagining things, but why would Steve have a reason to lie about a robot following him with a knife? Like, he has no connection. Like, what possibly could Finn be imagining? What possibly could Steve have been imagining? It's just like, why are you so supportive or of this robot? I don't understand it. He's just a terrible human. I hate him. But yeah, he does say that they're doing this because they want to defend their mother, which, again, Finn is telling you something that Steve, oh my goodness. So anyways, as they are eating dinner right after this conversation, Cass rolls out behind him, and she's like, finally, we're a real family. And the episode ends there. And so I'm like, okay, David, you gonna believe your family now? What's happening? You gonna believe your family now? Like, I don't know. What does it take? Your wife is telling you all of this is going on. Then, like, the stuff that happened with your daughter. Then the stuff that happened. It's just like, not, and the thing is, not one thing did he believe that any of them told him. Not one thing. And I'm like, 3 people are now telling you something's going on here and you don't believe it. Like, he gets on my last nerve. Like, this is your family. Like, what in the world? But anyways, that's the end of episode 4. And so next video will be episode 5. I can't wait to finish talking about this series. But yeah, so there you go, guys. If you have any comments on this video, if you watched it, I mean, not the video, but the show, if you watched it, please leave your comments down below. If you have any thoughts on anything I said about this, if you agree, disagree, you have any further explanation about anything I said in this video, also leave your comment down below. If you like this video, please like this video and make sure you subscribe to my channel. Okay, bye guys.